So one of the things you learn early on when you drive an electric car is they're not really any good for road trips, you know, for doing long journeys. That's what you're told, certainly that's what the general opinion is. Oh, I couldn't do a road trip in an electric car, which I think is a fairly reasonable thing to say. It's generally speaking, it's true, because they don't have the kind of range that we used to with fossil burners. But what I'm doing at the moment is a ridiculous venture, and I guess I'm doing it so that you don't have to. I'm actually on a road trip in Wales, and the total distance that we're going from where we're starting to where we end up is 192 miles. That is a road trip, and it's 192 miles in Wales. Wales is not flat. In fact, I can't find a flat bit of Wales. It's all mountains. So you're either going up a hill or you're going down a hill. Going down a hill at the moment. So it is quite a challenge to, you know, you'd think, well, where on earth can you plug in? You're going to have to sort of wake up a farmer in the middle of the night and say, can I plug into your barn, please? But interestingly, there is already a network in existence in Wales of bed and breakfasts with car charging facilities in their car parks out the front. You stay at the bed and breakfast, you charge the car overnight, and you head off again in the morning. Let's see if it works. We're in a village called Lewis, and I've stayed last night at this wonderful bed and breakfast place which has electric car charging. Now, the people that run this bed and breakfast are called Ian and Julie, and they are part of Zero Carbon Road Trips and the Low Carbon Network. So what they're doing is organising this system through Wales so that when people come on holiday here, they can, well, however you drive here, you can get the train, you can drive here, and then you can rent one of these wonderful electric Renault Twizzes to go around the countryside here. Very, very quiet, beautiful open countryside. Sometimes it's raining because it is Wales. And have a fantastic time. But if you've got an electric car, and you can drive up here and stay overnight and charge it overnight, and in the morning your car is full and ready to go. So we're now on a journey to another similar bed and breakfast place, but on the way we're going to find out where the electricity comes from. So now we're just outside the town of Ryder in mid-Wales, and behind me is a great big wall. Well, it's not a wall because it's actually a dam, because the other side of that big wall is a massive lake. And what happens, you see, hydroelectric power is really, really complicated. It's very hard to understand. So the water comes down a tube, down there into a big generating hall, turns a big wheel inside of the housing, a turbine, which turns a generator, which generates electricity. Yeah, I mean, it's just very hard to understand. Now, what you can hear, but sadly can't see, is the actual hydroelectric generator that's spinning away in there. That noise you can hear in the background is enormous amounts of water running through this turbine, generating electricity. And unfortunately, the head office for the company that runs it is in Northampton, and there's no one here with a key, so we can't see inside. But all you can actually see is a big blue thing that's going so, you know, we're not missing that much. So one of the things is, like, this is a Victorian dam that was built to supply water for Birmingham, so all the water in that lake goes to the wonderful people of Birmingham, which is lovely, and any overflow they run through the turbines, and the turbines generate electricity. The thing is that they generate a tiny amount of electricity in comparison to what they could. There's 8 billion gallons of water in there. It's topped up constantly by the lovely Welsh weather, which, as you can see, in midsummer in the United Kingdom, this is normal. And I think my argument is that we have an enormous amount of potential hydroelectric power in this country that we're not really using. And I think it's an argument that we could make to our MPs to say, yes, we might want to start fracking for gas, and we might want to build new nuclear power stations, but just maybe before we do that, let's make sure that we're using all the potential energy we have in the naturally running water in this country, of which, believe me, there's plenty. So, with the car charged with hydro-powered electricity, we headed north to the Centre for Alternative Technology. Thankfully, they supply completely carbon-free renewable electricity by the bucket load, so we charged the car while I had a wander round this wonderful institution. The Centre for Alternative Technology was set up in the 1970s by an extraordinary man called Gerard Morgan Grenville. The centre is open to the public with fantastic displays of low-carbon buildings, amazing agriculture and renewable energy systems. The founder of the whole thing was, you wouldn't really call him a hippie, would you?
No, Gerard wasn't really a hippie. Gerard Morgan Grenville was ex-Eton Coldstream Guards. He was very much an industrialist who was interested in how the world works and took a year out of his career to travel across America in 1970.
Right.
And he ran into the limits to growth people who were essentially saying that if we continue material expansion up and up and up on a finite planet, we butt against the physical limits to growth. So things that seemed really off the radar radical then have become perfectly normalised, and how lots of ambient energy devices have now matured to become the solar powers, the wind generations that we see as technically very mature and very proven today. But we've also reached a point where we need to clip together that vision in the same way as Gerard did in 1978. So we're producing a document, Zero Carbon Britain, and we're launching the latest iteration in July in the All-Party Parliamentary Climate Change Group, which is like looking at all the jigsaw puzzle pieces that we have in different organisations, in different institutions, people looking at food and diets, people looking at buildings, people looking at land use, people looking at transport and electric vehicles, clipping all them together into a model to show what it would be like if we were to rapidly decarbonise Britain in a way that the climate science is actually demanding.
Yes.
What would we be wearing? How would we move ourselves around? What would we be eating? What would the houses be like? So we can begin to paint that picture of what the world would be like if we were actually rising to our 21st century challenges rather than just putting them in that denial locker where...
I suppose what I'm trying to find out is there an optimistic element to that document?
Zero Carbon Britain shows that we can rise to the challenge. Firstly, we have to use energy a lot more wisely, so we can power down by 50-60% the amount of energy we use to get back to more like 1950s levels of energy consumption. But with smart, modern electronic technology, we can do everything we need with that. But so if we power down demand and get demand down to reasonable, smart energy levels, then we can meet that with large renewables. Britain's blessed with a huge offshore wind resource. And if you install enough to meet an average demand, there are times when you have hugely oversupply. So what you do is you split water into hydrogen and oxygen and then carbonate the hydrogen to make an e-methane that you can then populate the gas grid so that we can run gas-fired generations during the time that we'd be calmed at minus 15 in the middle of the winter. So it's a matter of plotting out where there's an excess and where there's a shortfall. I haven't
actually heard of that technology. So this is using excess wind power. Oh, that's new?
It's all very
Not heard of that.
It's in the new report. We actually use real metadata and we do hourly modelling, not just of supply but of demand and how demand changes over the season, and where there is a surplus that we can then store, and when there's a deficit where we need to use that store. We just model it. We can do it. It's technically feasible. It's not really a technology challenge. We're not waiting for a new widget to be developed. We're waiting for a shift in society where we say we actually have to deal with this problem. And we can see it.
And is hydraulic gas fracking a sensible way of
it's another short-term fix. Locking us further into more emissions.
So we charged up again on 100% renewable electricity and we headed north, uphill all the way and into Snowdonia. What you can see behind me is a pumped storage power station. It's very simple, really. What it is there's a great big lake here, loads of water that gets collected off the mountains and the rain. There's enough of that in Wales. And overnight, when electricity is very cheap, it pumps water up the mountain to another reservoir that's right up on the top. Stays there all day till about 6 o'clock at night when the National Grid say, we need a bit of extra electricity. And then they turn the taps, literally, and the water comes gushing out of the bottom of that power station. It's driving massive turbines, generates gigawatts of electricity, which goes, as you can see, along the pylons into the National Grid and turns on the lights. So it's essentially a massive battery, and what we need is a lot more of them. We arrived at this wonderful bed and breakfast, Bryn Eltyd, last night. It was raining, it was dark and grey, didn't want to film anything, just wanted to go to sleep. But we had a wonderful night's sleep, fantastic breakfast, I can highly recommend it. This bed and breakfast is truly remarkable place. It's not just a bed and breakfast, all the showers we had this morning were heated by the sun. It's got solar panels, it's got loads of thermal insulation, it's got a wood chip boiler that uses local waste wood. All their electricity comes from hydro or solar power. The car has been charged by hydroelectric power. There's a choo-choo train that goes across the back. It's so exciting. So it's a fantastic place to come, can't recommend it highly enough. The car is now fully charged and we're off back home.